Class is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yes.
Okay.
Jill.
Yeah.
Testing, testing. Testing.
Can you hear me? Testing.
No?
Testing, testing.
Stuff coming out of that. Yeah. Alright. So
Testing,
works.
testing, testing. We're getting our technical act together and we'll be with you shortly. Thank you.
I heard you on this one.
Oh, testing, testing.
Yep.
Can you like tap on the microphones behind you?
Where is it?
The mic works.
Testing, testing.
Test, test. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PowerBrew. So we're here this morning and we're excited to have you here on this spring day, although it doesn't feel like spring. So we're going to get started with our presentation here. And just give me 1 minute so we can figure out if I can hear myself. You all can hear me. Okay, so here we go. So today I'm happy to be moderating with Michelle Shepard, who's our Client Support Services Coordinator. My name's Jill Hermes. I'm the Director of Corporate Services here at Advantage C. If you're not familiar with Advantage C, let me just give you an overview. If you are one of our regulars who joins us on a monthly basis, well, then we're happy to have you back. So Advantage C is a service of Carroll Community College, and we support the business community here in Carroll with training in areas of leadership and management, technology, sales and service, safety and compliance, and a variety of other things. We also support businesses in the area of consulting, growth and change management. We all know about change. It just keeps coming down the pike. So we want to help you be ready for that. And as you think about your strategic plan and any kind of new growth or new facilities or new technology, we are here to support you with all those things. And assessments as well. We always kind of have to keep an active pulse. What's happening with our staff? How are they feeling? What's happening in our community? So we are happy and pleased to assist you in those areas. So Michelle's going to talk a little bit about how to navigate the PowerBrew today. So I'll let her take the stage for that.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone has a nice warm cup of coffee or tea. I know it's kind of chilly out there. It's snowing a little bit. So essentially, a lot of you have joined us before, but if you haven't, just a minute to get you familiar with the webinar workspace there on your right-hand side. So you're actually able to collapse and expand that screen to see more or less of the presentation, whatever your preference is this morning. We encourage everyone to submit questions. We love these webinars to be interactive. We'll get to as many of them as we can during the webinar. And for the questions that we're unable to get to, we'll have Missy follow up through an email after the webinar. So yes, submit some questions and we're going to get started in just a minute.
So Missie Wilcox is going to be our presenter today. And Missie is the principal and owner of MarketWorks, and under her leadership, MarketWorks has created brand platforms, leadership training programs for all sizes. She is a sought-after speaker. She is also the organizational development manager at KCI Technologies in Sparks, Maryland. She actually wears many, many hats. So she's going to bring us her expertise today as far as social media, how to leverage that for your best success in recruiting talent. This is kind of one in the series that we've created as far as helping you recruit and retain the best talent. So Missie has her MBA from the University of Buffalo. She's also an adjunct professor here at Carroll and Loyola and also Mount St. Mary's. She's a busy woman, as I said. In her spare time, she's a spin instructor. She's also a lacrosse referee. And we're very happy to have her as our guest. So welcome, Missie.
Thanks so much. Thanks for that warm welcome. And yeah, the snow is probably keeping a lot of lacrosse players off the fields this week, but I'm glad to hear that you're all nice and warm. And so today we're going to talk about social media as a recruiting tool. And what does that mean? We are about to access the largest applicant pool on the planet. So today we're going to talk briefly about how we seek the best source of talent through online means, using this large applicant tool, and really using social media to not only attract, but also evaluate potential employees. So how do we create this? We're talking about an online presence. What I love so much about using social media as a recruiting tool, it really does combine my two loves, which is marketing and HR and training, because those things combine for showcasing a company's brand on an ongoing basis. I always like to say that a company's brand is the stories that our employees and our customers tell. And there's no better platform for that storytelling than social media. We can find out who is tech savvy, we can find out the best place for employee referrals, and it really gives us the opportunity to, in real time, evaluate candidates, as well as having candidates evaluate us. So why do we even talk about social media as a recruiting tool? With a combined 535 million users on these platforms, the ones I'm going to refer to today as the big three, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, like I keep saying, it's the largest applicant pool on the planet. You're not going to find that many people engaging at one time. I'm going to give you a couple of statistics I think are pertinent. In the recent study by the Society of Human Resource Management showed that more than 1/3 of organizations use social media to leverage mobile recruiting, to really target smartphone users to find those best applicants. That study also showed that recruiting via social media is growing. 84% of organizations are using it currently, with another 9% planning to use it. What does that mean? That means that 93% of companies are recruiting your applicants online, which means if you're not on there, your next great hire could be hired by someone else. So we're going to talk about using social media in the best possible way. Active users who say they use social media platforms to research companies. It's no surprise. LinkedIn is seen as widely as possible as the largest one, 54%. Instagram is 44%, and I can only really think about the fact that they're looking at it from a branding perspective, seeing visually, is this a company that I'd like to work for? And of course, Twitter and Facebook is the ongoing conversation about the brand. I think what we saw with a company called Southwest, who I think is a branding genius, the former CEO, Herb Kelleher, really established a corporate culture, which was every single individual employee, whether you are throwing the bag in the belly of the plane, you're flying the plane, or you are in the C-suite, you are representing the brand. And so every interaction with a Southwest employee, there's a corporate culture. You see it in person, you see it in interactions, and you see it in social media. We can take that lead by also reinforcing that, combining our marketing strengths and our HR strengths together to really build a social platform to both research employees and have applicants research us. So we're going to talk about, like I said, the big three. And the big three starts with LinkedIn. And I really start with that before I begin with that is I'm going to ask a question. How many of you use social media personally? This is the interactive portion of the program. Just to kind of get an idea of what you use. So we're waiting for the results. I feel like I'm about to go to commercial from American Idol. Oh, and the research and the results are coming. Okay, 25% of you are on LinkedIn, 63% Facebook, and 13% are on Instagram. Terrific. Nobody said Twitter. Oh, that's interesting. So we're gonna talk about those. But I do think that Instagram is something that is very used for social use. So we're gonna switch gears and talk about business. Same question. How many of you use this for business? And that could be for research, for white papers, to look up at other applicants, to look at your competitors, just in general business use. And LinkedIn, no surprise, LinkedIn is the winner with a close second of Facebook. Still no Twitter. That's so interesting. But those two we're going to really focus on today. So ask those questions. Keep them coming. So one more question I'm going to ask you. We're going to ask that now, Michelle, about the recruiting. Sure. Okay. So before we get into the big three, I feel like I'm talking about an episode from This Is Us. So let's talk, before I get to the big three, I want to know, do you use LinkedIn to recruit or to find a new job? Or have you ever? I don't know about any of you, but I'm having withdrawal already from no, This Is Us. It doesn't come back till the fall. To all you HR professionals, I wonder how much productivity we've lost over talking about the episode of This Is Us from the night before. Wednesday mornings are a little bit crazy, I think. So, okay, so we see that it's about 55% of you have used it. That sounds great. So for those of you who have used it, this could be a refresher or a way to make it even more powerful. For those of you who haven't tried it yet, hopefully these tips will help you. So we're going to get back to why LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn is a giant jobs board. That's what often many people see it. It represents 170 countries, industries in 200 countries. More than 65 million professionals are on that platform. It's a great way to start building conversations with people you already know, former coworkers, clients, local entrepreneurs, even friends and family. You never know who you're going to see who can find that next great applicant for you. It can be used as a very important screening tool. So how do we use it? The first thing you can do is you can post jobs you have available. There's a cost to that. For some ways, it's $195 to post a job for 30 days. There's an exclusive suite of tools for recruiters. But importantly, that's the talent advantage. Importantly, the free LinkedIn resources are something that I really want you to take advantage of. Build connections to people you already know. Begin discussions with people in the group. Groups are a great way to find specific types of candidates. If you're looking for an IT professional, join an IT group and see who's out there and who's active. It's also, you can use it the status box and say, seeking an IT consultant. If you know someone, even you, contact me. It's a great and vast network of valued connections, and your company can easily maintain a high profile relationship with both active and passive candidates. So often people find that LinkedIn is something that people are somewhat passive about. They go through and it's more of a reviewing tool, a tool for recruiting, looking for jobs, but importantly seeing the subject matter experts, writing a white paper, things of that nature. Look for your employees to boost your social media presence on LinkedIn. Have them share the job postings on their respective LinkedIn pages for greater exposure. Promote your internal referral process. It's a great way to use it. LinkedIn is just super. And I'm not going to belabor the point too much because I think so many of you use this. So now you've used it for recruiting, which is terrific. You've got this information about potential candidates. You may have even brought them in. The next thing I'd like you to do is how you evaluate their talent using LinkedIn to find someone who might be a good fit. And fit is something, I want to take a moment to talk about fit. When we think about the very best hires, we think about them in terms of both ability and motivation. Ability is their experience, their past positions, their resume, really what I call the CV, looking at all the information to see if they match keywords for keywords. What you're looking for is what they have. But the other part of this is really what's called fit. What is the cultural fit? Does this person fit into your organization? Do they have the same accountabilities? Do they have the same cultural basis? Do they respond to team building? If you have a team-oriented culture, someone who's very used to working on an individual basis, that might not be a good fit, or vice versa. So looking at their LinkedIn profile can really give you a good snapshot of who they are. Do they have a complete profile, including a photo? That's always nice to see. Are there recommendations from peers, from managers, from clients, not just their mom? Take a look at that. I also like to take a look at the recommendations to get behind the words. What are they actually saying? Is it something that looks like it was given to that person to write? Is it a testimonial that has results-based information? And importantly, could you possibly use those recommendation individuals as referrals? Are they members of relevant of groups relevant to their field? Then you know that they're engaged and they want to grow. Do you have any second or third level connections to get a more personal referral? I always look at that to see and say, hey, Margaret, do you happen to know, I see that you're connected with this person. Is this somebody that we might want to talk about? And can you give me some information about what you think about that person? The other thing I like to do is looking at their LinkedIn profile. It has their past job experience. And this is when I do a look, and I call it resume reconciliation. I look at their profile and I look at their resume to make sure they match. Is it possible that they've missed a position that's not in LinkedIn or not on their resume? And why would that be? LinkedIn is more of the truth teller because people can see it's a public place, so people can see and say, hey, I don't remember that person working here. So there's a great chance that there might be some super job on their resume that doesn't appear on LinkedIn, and that's a red flag. Looking for gaps, looking for information to see where the reconciliation of the two are. So that really gives you information about who they are, what their motivations are, what their aspirations are, where they've gone, and where they're going. I also like to see the skills at the bottom, what people have endorsed their skills for, and to see if those are the key skills I'm looking for in the job I'm hiring for. So that's pretty much LinkedIn. You can find out a lot about a person from their profile before even contacting them for an interview. And that's something that we all tend to use. We use this a lot, but I'm going to switch gears for a moment and really talk about Facebook, because so often we use Facebook for our social, our personal, our social information. We want to know about our friends' graduation pictures and all those kinds of things. But I want to know, how many of you use Facebook as a recruiting tool? where the results are coming in. Wow, 50-50 split. That's interesting. So we're going to talk a little bit about that to really determine why that is, because it's not something that's top of mind for people. I don't think it's a social utility that connects people with friends, really, and people who work and study and live around them. And it's something that we don't necessarily automatically consider to be something that we use for business or we use for recruiting. I will tell you that the interaction and the discussions, there is more engagement on Facebook than on any other social media platform, meaning that people are more compelled to respond and talk about their opinions about companies than any other platform. So that free-flowing information is really creating a brand for you. So working with your marketing team, HR and marketing together to really make sure that everything that's on Facebook is reinforcing your corporate culture and your brand. So it's not just a marketing tool, it's not just an HR tool, but it's a team of the two to really come together to create the cultural brand, the cultural story. Why is this important? There's nearly 2 billion people on there every month. And now that, granted, that is the entire spectrum of users, from the eight-year-olds who lied and said they were 13 up to grandma. Yeah, there's no. I love the people who they put on there that they, when they're 10, they say they're 13, and now they're all 45, so demographics can go out the window a little bit. But anyway, so it does span every age group, every gender, every ethnicity. Diverse exposure is never an issue on Facebook, which I think is great. The other thing that's really important, it's got a higher utility than any other social media platform. Research has shown that there's more viewing of Facebook than any other social media and I need to quantify this, for adults. I'm not talking about the kids, and I'm not talking about Snapchat and all those other things. But with such a high user retention, it's a perfect place to engage with job seekers, to get industry insights, and to post your open positions. It's a really good way to do that. And I know it's not something we necessarily think about, which is even more a reason to use it for recruiting, is to go where other companies aren't. That gives you even more exposure. So how do you use it for recruiting? Well, the very first thing you can do is you can post the jobs you have available. And the ad platform, more than any other of the social media platforms, has laser targeting ability, even more than its rivals. Google AdWords, Yahoo Advertising, you can hyper target a specific talent pool. When you decide to create an ad on Facebook for an open position, it's going to ask you a series of questions about the characteristics of the people that you want to see in your job posting: age, experience, geography. And based on those demographics, Facebook will calculate how many users fit your criteria. And then it comes up with what your budget is. You can pay per click, which means that you will have to pay Facebook every time someone clicks through to get the information. Or you can pay per impression, and that's the number of people who saw your ad. And then you set how much you're willing to pay. You can even target a younger age demographic if you want. This is a loophole that Facebook has, and it's no different than any other Facebook posting that you do. So that is something that you can do. It's very specific. The limitation is you can't target to a specific group of people, but you can put very basic information that can get to the title, why you need to fill the position. I'm sorry, for the ads. The Facebook Marketplace, let me switch to that. That's basic information, and that's free. So anytime you can put that button up on your Facebook page, location, why you want to fill it. You can't target a specific group of people because they want you to buy an ad. So anytime you want to really maximize the use of your Facebook resources, you might want to post an ad. And they're not very expensive. You can do something as little as $5, but it's kind of, you get what you pay for. Like there'll be like 2 people will see it at $9.24. So just make sure that you use that as part of your budget process. And so that's a free resource for you if you decide to use the marketplace, or you can place an ad. The other thing that you can do is your Facebook page. Your Facebook page, again, is the story that you are telling about your company. I love what KCI does. Is they have they have ambassadors that actually showcase the wonderful things that are going on at KCI on an ongoing basis. And it's a great way to show all the wonderful things that are going on with that company. And it's just a public profile, enables you to share your business, your product, your services. If you don't have a Facebook page, I strongly recommend that you get one, because if you're not telling your story, someone else is. And Facebook helps you manage that storytelling. So how do we use it for recruiting? Post the jobs you have available. We just did this, okay. And now for a rerun. For those of you who are missing, this is us. Let's do it again. Okay, sorry. So it's so important. I needed to say it twice, people. That's what that was. Okay, so, all right. So using Facebook to evaluate talent. Okay, so we've put that out there. Even if you're not using it for your ads, although I recommend you do that, even if you don't use it for, to recruit talent, once you find someone that you are interested in, look at their Facebook profile. Now, some of them might be shut completely down with regard to privacy. A number of people, especially recent college grads, have eliminated their last name from their Facebook profile. That's to, I guess, protect the guilty of the fraternity parties they're going to or something like that. I always tell people whenever I'm asked to do presentations for recent college grads to completely clean up their social media. The best suggestion I have is don't make it a mess that you had to clean up anyway, but evaluate their Facebook profile. What are their photos? What are their comments? And who are they recommending? Again, goes to what their cultural fit is. Is this the type of person you want to have on your team? Is this recommendation, is this comment something that you'd be proud to say, they work at my firm? So looking at their profile is a really good thing to do ahead of time to see who they are. And this is no different than asking, so both of my daughters went through the recruiting process for athletics in college, and without exception, every coach asked for their Twitter handle, their Facebook name, their LinkedIn page, all of that so they could review it. So I just happen to think that Facebook is a terrific way to go about finding information about your candidates, as well as them evaluating us. And believe me, they're doing searches all the time. Very few of you talked about Twitter as an opportunity to find recruits. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. So I'm going to ask the question, do you use Twitter as a recruiting tool? For my PowerBrew, I'm drinking water. That's awesome.
Where's the coffee?
Where's my coffee? I drank it before I got here. That's okay. People always say I'm naturally caffeine enough. Can you picture me with more caffeine? Come on now. And now for the PowerBrew, which is 5 seconds long. She's done 76 slides in 2 minutes. All right. Wow. Okay. 91% don't use it. I would love to know about the 9% who have. So is there a possibility for them to talk a little bit about that? Write in some comments maybe, or submit some comments. The 9% that use it, I would love to hear from you about how you actually use it. So let's talk about it a little bit. So Twitter, here's what happened with Twitter. So Facebook was the prevalent social media tool, and Twitter came out because what they were finding is that Facebook was going on and on and on. So I call them epistles. You write something on Facebook, and the post is the post that keeps on giving. It's, you keep reading it and you get exhausted from it. Anytime it says read more, it's time to go. What Twitter as a platform to be as a separate competitive advantage, they said, you know what, we're going to limit the messaging to 140 characters. And that means spaces, that means punctuation, that means grammar. Thank you. This is the reason that nobody knows how to write anymore. Thank you, Twitter, for using the letter U instead of Y-O-U every time. But anyway, the purpose of it was a simple tool to connect businesses meaningfully, with short, succinct microblogging things. They like to call it a massive microblogging site with a twist. And I think it's great. It can be a very, very powerful tool for small companies or a recruiter that wants to have an edge over the competition. Why? because 91% of people aren't using it according to our latest poll. You can get on there when no one else is on there. Think about that. Think about the breakthrough. You are going where no one else is, meaning you can potentially get to recruits that no one else is actually seeking using that social media tool. That imposed character count really, some people think it really hampers us, but you know what? That means you have to have a hyper-focused, very targeted message, which can be very powerful. It might not sound like it, but selling your corporate brand in 140 characters is hard, but it's doable, and it can really be powerful if you have a tagline and a corporate culture that can be reinforced in those 140 characters. Your corporate Twitter account is the ideal place to talk about potential hires and your new positions. So how do we use it? First of all, the easy thing is tweet the jobs you have available. Definitely do that. And it's looking for an IT person in Westminster with experience in social media. Hashtag hiring. You can put your URL in. You can pack a bigger punch with more expressive messaging beyond the limit. How do you do that? With Twitter cards. That's when you attach a great video. That's when you attach some sort of a connection. You can put a link to your website. It can be a landing page that gives information about why work at Acme Company. Those kinds of things. Run a search for keywords. Search.twitter.com is fabulous for finding the keywords, because so often Twitter is a continuous feed, right? So if you go on there at 8 o'clock in the morning, if you post something and someone isn't looking for a job until they get home from work this afternoon, or at 1 o'clock, depending on how bad the snow is today. So if they do that, your tweet is completely lost. So many people seeking jobs and content on Twitter use the search function. So look at the keywords that people are doing. If you're looking for an IT person, look at the keywords that people are using so you can use the same one, so you can be found like they are. Look at your competitors. What are they using? And look at hashtags. Use those hashtags. It does count against 140 characters, but really that helps because people also search for jobs using the hashtags. Hashtag hiring is great. I will warn you, it is a very generic hashtag. I checked at 8:45 this morning. Hashtag hiring had been used over 1,000 times in the previous 15 minutes. So know that you might get lost in the sauce. You might want to say hiring Westminster, hiring Maryland, hiring IT. But do the search function first to see, and also make sure that your hashtags are something that isn't going to be mistaken for something else. And I'll give you a great example. I was doing the social media for a local municipality, and it was an event called Midnight Madness. And I thought it was so clever saying the hashtag would be get mad. And we thought that would be great. So it's, go out and eat and drink and be merry and shop and enjoy all the live music. Not realizing that get mad as a hashtag was all these angry people smashing windows and customer service nightmares. So luckily I fixed it. I figured it out early enough and said, okay, we're not using get mad, we did mid mad. And I, of course, searched it first. So that is the don't let this happen to you. Search first and make sure that you're using the proper hashtags that aren't going to be mixed up with something that is not in keeping with your culture. Okay, we have Scott on the line. Oh, I can't hear him.
Let's make sure you can hear us.
Oh, I can hear him now. Okay, great. Hey, Scott. One moment. Uh-oh. One moment, please. Talk among yourselves. Your favorite hashtag.
Scott, I think we sent you a PIN number here, so as soon as we get him on the line, he has a couple questions for you about Twitter, because he is one of the Twitter users.
Yay!
So we'll get him here in a minute, and
okay. Well, in the meantime,
he's on. Let's see.
Okay, I'm here.
Hey, Scott.
Hi.
So you use Twitter as a recruiting tool?
Correct. At Burke, we use Twitter, post all of the job opportunities that come in here with local employers, and post it to Twitter, which also post to our website. We have a Twitter wall on our website.
Amazing. That is a great tip. Definitely. I always tell people to have a direct link to and from your website for all the social media. That's awesome. How's your success been?
And again, there's less users of Twitter, so we find that not a lot of people have a Twitter account, but using Hootsuite also helps because we do use Facebook as well. And as I had mentioned, additionally, getting business information that happens from companies about new hirings, expansions is really critical. So I get a lot of that information through Twitter.
Absolutely. And Scott mentions Hootsuite. For those of you who don't know what Hootsuite is, that's a program that helps you schedule your posts for social media. And there is a free form of it, and there's also levels of different levels of pricing. And it's a great way for you to be able to, ahead of time, schedule your posts in a cadence that makes most sense based on the analytics of who is actually on those platforms. So if you review your Facebook analytics and you see that you're getting a spike of viewership 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, that might be when you want to make your best post via Hootsuite. You can also schedule posts as well, but using analytics and in combination with a tool like Hootsuite is a really good thing. So Scott, what is one piece of advice you'd give for those 91% of people who haven't used it yet?
I'd say you have to use all the tools that are out there. So
Yes.
You don't want to limit yourself, and anything that's out there, you just never know. It might bring in that one great candidate that becomes your best employee. So use everything that is available.
Do you use hashtags for your positions on Twitter?
We occasionally do. It just really depends, but hashtags is something that we sometimes will use.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to really be able to target your audience, and it's a good way to track it too. So kudos to you for using that. That's amazing. So you mentioned that, if I can ask you one more question, you mentioned that
Sure.
you use Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So which
Yes.
one do you find to be the most successful for you?
I'm finding Facebook groups to be very successful with local community groups as well as hiring groups. And there's thousands of people on these sites, and they're actively scanning for opportunities as well as companies that are posting. So I find that really great. Also, events on Facebook, when you're having a hiring event,
Yep.
to use that to post it to draw candidates to your recruiting activity.
Fantastic tips. Yeah, the groups out, that is a really wonderful way to find out. Those are the people who are more engaged. They're actively looking, or they're actively engaged in their industry. And yeah, the events, that's another great thing. It's networking and you might find your next great candidate there. Scott, great tips. Thanks so much for calling.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, and feel free to call in. I mean, I love that. So we can definitely add some more information to the mix for sure. So how do you use Twitter to evaluate talent? Evaluate their Twitter account, and even if they're private, you'll know the number of followers and who they follow. If they are public, you can find out what they tweet, how they tweet, find out what they recommend. You can find out an awful lot of information about them. You can find out if they tweet incendiary content. Do they share, comment certain topics that reinforce your decision to hire them? It's really just a way for us to both showcase who we are and who they are. The biggest question that I get on an ongoing basis, here at the college, we teach a lot of classes. There's actually a social media certificate program, and we do strategies and tactics as well as just an overall introduction. And the biggest question that I get in every class is, I don't have time for this. It's so expensive. I don't have time to hire somebody. I'm just going to I'll hire somebody to do it, or I'm not on Facebook myself. Why would I do this? The return on investment of social media, in general, we have found that if you spend on average 6 hours a week on social media, that's you and marketing together, you can really get to know potential candidates. It requires time and effort, but it really is the litmus test for what people are saying about your company, your employees,
and if if you don't have a social media policy for your employees, I strongly recommend that you craft one because they are also your ambassadors. Back to the Southwest model, every single time that an individual puts on that Southwest shirt, they are representing Southwest. And when they get online, they're doing the same thing. So that recruiting, they're a recruiter for you, whether or not you know it. You see someone, you say, my goodness, he's a total turkey. Where does he work? Oh gosh, okay. I don't know that I really want to work for a company that hires a guy like that. So really thinking about your social media policy and knowing that we truly live in a very public world. This applicant pool, the largest group of applicants on the planet, are talking a mile a minute on social media. We can get to know these people, their fit, their experience, their motivation, their ability. It takes recruiting back to the grassroots of recruiting, but in the digital age, it's more than just posting on a job bank, but it's really the interactions, the one-on-one to go through that. So it's worth the investment. It is indeed time. So just know that fitting that into what your overall job strategy of recruiting is, but it's worth it.
May I interject a little question? So talking about the return on investment, and I hear what you're saying, that investment comes back to you. How do we measure that when we're trying to convince our superiors or the constituents?
Oh gosh, thank you. That's a great question. So what I like to tell people, I'm getting reverb now. What I like to tell people when it comes to social media return on investment, it's all about the analytics. So your website has Google Analytics. It will show you the organic, how people organically come to your site, what keywords are they typing in your address? Is it coming from one of a LinkedIn page or a Twitter page? You can immediately showcase the jump on your web activity. Facebook, if you have more than 100 followers on your Facebook page, there are extensive analytics that are free to you that will show you who your demographics are, who your followers are, where they live, when they're looking. You can see peak periods. You can see which of your posts were the most successful, how many were shared, how many were commented on, levels of engagement. So it's somewhat of an indirect revenue generator, like most marketing. But what I like to do is I do a metrics report every month. So on the 30th of the month, because some months don't have a 31. Other than February. So on the 33rd month, you do a report and you look and you do a benchmark. Okay, here's how many tweets we had. Here's how many likes. Here's how many applications we got or phone calls. Here is our increase in followership, and really talking about engagement. In social media, it's so much about the engagement. How are we getting people to engage? Please know that LinkedIn is more of a passive use of social media, as is Twitter, but it's kind of like the silent person who's so deep and they say something so profound. Those social media tools, you're going to find your very best person from someone who, I call them sometimes social media stalkers. They never say anything, but they're there, and you want to really make a difference with those people. If they are the best candidate, that's going to show you how it is. So benchmarking, every single social media has numbers that you can really look at, but I say the truth is in your Google Analytics, and the reason that's so important is that Google changed, well, so does Facebook. Google and Facebook change their analytics every 28 days. And that makes all of us crazy. I know any of you who are, those of you who are avid Facebook social followers, you get frustrated. You're like, what happened? Why suddenly I'm not seeing this person's post, or I'm not seeing this information? The analytics change every 28 days. And the reason they do that is to bypass those clever individuals who are trying to break the algorithm. Meaning, back in the day, when there were meta tags, if I was McDonald's, I would put Burger King, embed Burger King in my code. So if somebody posted Burger King, they would still get to McDonald's. So there's all that kind of funky algorithm fixing that happens. So in response, all the social media platforms change their algorithms to ensure what? Authentic content. So if you, on a very ongoing basis, engage in authentic content that reinforces your brand, reinforces your cultural fit, reinforces the type of person that you're looking for to hire, you're going to find them on social media. And The best hire is your best return on investment. Because we all know how expensive it is to hire somebody.
Right, that's excellent. Thank you. So it's really, I guess there's peace of mind in knowing that if you're investing the time in this tool, we don't have to guess. It's not a mystery. There are analytics to back up the information.
There's still some guessing, but I mean, and you can get it wrong. I will tell you. I've done a lot of social media for a lot of clients, and I will come up with what I think is the most clever post ever, and I'm like, get ready for this to go viral, and like a day later, it's got like 6 likes. I'm like, what happened?
Well,
And
that's kind of funny because our next question was, how do you make your pages more engaging?
oh my gosh. Okay. So that's a great question. How do you make your pages more engaging? By giving people information that they want to see. So when we talk about engagement on social media, look at, I'm a stalker of competitors. I want to see what other competitors are doing. But I also really want to take a look at what are they posting, what are they responding to the most? So and you're gonna laugh, but like animals and food tend to be the most thing on Facebook. LinkedIn, very short white papers with tips, bulleted points of quick hits. What I suggest to people is for engaging content, it's called the 1/3 rule. A third of your content should be showcasing who you are and selling your product. A third is what I call shared content. You're getting information that's helpful to them from another source. So I have a real estate client that we do tips about how to downsize or how to organize that junk drawer in your kitchen, which isn't really about selling a house, but just so people will go to it, because no one wants to look at a page that's nothing but I'm hiring. This is what I want. This is I'm looking for an IT person. So what that is all about me. Facebook, social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, it's all about the person reading it. So engaging content is what's in it for me, answering that question. The last third is information that will solely help that person. So so making it engaging is really to find content that people will respond to, and it's ebbing and flowing. And like I said before, like that one post I made, nobody liked, and then I posted another one that I thought, I was like, okay, maybe someone will like that, and it goes viral. You just never know. So, and you're one viral post away from having an outstanding recruiting experience on social media.
I know for myself, I love infographics. Do you find that other people respond well to that?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Infographics are the best. So what an infographic is, and there are lots of tools you can do this, and you can download things online, and you can pay someone to do it, but there's lots of things you can do for free. An infographic is something that has information on a graph, hence the term infographic. The definition of the word has the word in the definition. I'm so clever. So basically what it is it can be a bar graph, it can be a pie chart. Those are the two, it can be lots of icons. And what I tell people is have a huge headline on it about what you're trying to showcase. It also breaks the Twitter count, because you can attach it and there's nothing having to do with the 140 count. The other thing I like to do is cross promote. So I can start something on Twitter and I finish it on Facebook. It engages people. So if, for those of you who don't have a lot of Twitter followers, you can start a position on Facebook and have them learn more on Twitter. That will engage them in both ways. So yeah, I mean, that's
great. Thanks.
Sure. So I love that. So how do you get started? The very first thing you need to do is your hiring team, your HR team, and your marketing team work together to take a look at your current social media presence. Look at where you are, benchmark it, and also establish what is your recruiting strategy. How many hires are you going to make? And really think about what investment you're going to make in social media as part of that recruiting strategy. Come up with an editorial calendar of when you're going to post your new jobs, information about why it's great to work at your company, and what gets measured gets done. So I like to do an editorial calendar with dates, who's going to be writing the posts, partner with your marketing team, establish your presence if you don't have it, or bolster your current online presence if you do, and really look at different platforms. My not that I can assign homework, but my one piece of homework would be, if I could, would be for you to try to get on one additional platform that you're not currently on to see how it works for you for recruiting. again, your competition is on those sites. And I don't want you to look at someone and say, that would have been a great hire. And they're like, oh yeah, I found my job on Twitter. You're like, oh, I wasn't on Twitter. So really think about ways to use social media as one of the most powerful, cost-effective, and really successful ways to find your next hire. And at that point, I guess we can open up for questions.
Do we have additional questions? Well, I think that as you were running through, we were kind of piping some questions in there. I will say that this was chock full of just really helpful tools. This was very meaty. So this is the kind of a presentation that I'll actually go back and listen to again and again as I form new strategies and think about not only recruiting, but some other business tactics as well, because it's all about being connected.
It is. That's so well said. I mean, the connections that you're making in social media, it's real time. It's bolstering authenticity. We've all had that interview that was so amazing. And, you know, they sounded so good. Their resume was so great. And the first week they're there, they're like, what happened? Oh my heavens, who is this guy? So finding out on social media, you can get some clues and some information about who that person is. And again, fit is so important. And we spend so much time in finding the right person, both in the cost to recruit, the cost to interview, the cost to train. And I want us to bolster our success rate, reduce our turnover. And I think using social media can really help us do that.
I think that's a really good point. The other thing is, I think we're really breaking down barriers. I think that perhaps in the past we thought that certain kinds of organizations might be able to use social media to recruit and even to show the rest of the world what their culture was like. But the bottom line is right now in this business climate, it applies to every single kind of organization. And we talked about this last month, whether you're a manufacturing firm, whether you're a construction industry, financial industry, IT, high tech, really these concepts can be applied and make you more successful, and they are very cost effective. We all want that. Yeah,
that's absolutely. I mean, so, and if you think about the changing demographic of the applicant pool, more and more millennials are in that applicant pool. Every year, the individuals who are graduating from college, they grew up on this. I mean, they've been on Facebook since they were in elementary school. It is part and parcel of who they are. Much to our chagrin, that smartphone, I think, is an extra appendage on their body. They're always finding it. So this is another tool too. Make sure your website is responsive, so people are looking at it not just on a desktop, but also on a tablet or on a smartphone. And your recruiting information should be responsive as well. So it's quick hit. People, the social media has made us very impatient, and the fleeting attention spans that we have. Capture their attention with engaging content on social media that's responsive to what they're looking for, and we'll find them.
So Michelle, is there that one more question?
Yeah, so I was kind of waiting for this question. I'm not sure if you were, Missy, but you can go ahead and speak to this. So the question is, are there any legal concerns to take into consideration when reviewing one's social media accounts when recruiting?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So you notice that when I talked about the Facebook ads, I talked about the fact that you can hyper target. You can put in you can put in their age, you can put in their experience, you can put in their geography. Those are all questions that you can never ever ask in an interview. They are in violation of the EEOC. Facebook knows this, and I did some research about this to make sure it is a loophole that you can do an ad with that targeted demographic. You cannot use that information in the interview process. You know that you can't ask them if they're married, how many children they have, all of those types of questions. So what I would say is, this becomes a question for HR policy for the respective companies in terms of, asking for for access to their social media accounts. There are a number of companies that say it's freedom of speech, it's none of my business. What I say is anything that is public is fair game, meaning that if their Twitter page is public, if their Facebook page is public, and LinkedIn, it will, for the most part, that's public as well. That information anybody can look at any time. So I would say the questions that you ask based on that information need to still be in the components of EEOC policy and your own company's policy. But anything that's public, that's why I always tell our children, once you put things on social media, they are out there. So, and that's for adults as well. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. And that's something we always have to have,
Sure.
front and center, of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
social media is not a panacea for the magic box of finding out, gosh, she looks old. I mean, we don't ask those questions. So what we do is this is just another level of information for us, but we have to always follow the letter of the law. That this doesn't override any of that.
Great. Well, I'm sure that if you have other questions, I don't know if there.
Is there another question? There's another question coming.
Okay.
One moment, please.
I didn't get my headset on here.
Okay.
We did have one more
Oh.
question about
Okay,
using
awesome.
YouTube as a recruiting tool.
That's a great
That's
question.
a great question. Okay, so I love YouTube for a number of reasons from a social media perspective. Number one, YouTube's owned by Google, which means whenever you put a YouTube video on your website, you automatically bolster your Google Analytics on a website. So there's that as a little tidbit. It also makes you live and real. I like to use it. I also like Facebook Live. It's a three-dimensional perspective of a person, so and a company. So using YouTube is great. The beauty of YouTube is if you don't have a YouTube channel for your company, you can create one very easily and at no cost, and then put a link onto your website or your social media platforms. And that also is a Twitter card you can do is you can post a YouTube video there, and again that just bolsters all of those things. Again, making sure you're in line with your company's social media policy as to what can be posted. But I love it. I mean, that's a super idea. Yes, yes.
All right. So this strategy is just growing and growing, and there are all kinds of facets to it.
Well, and I have to say that's a really important point, is that if I gave this presentation 6 months ago, my percentages would be different. If I gave this 6 months from now, it would be different again, because the algorithm is always changing. Stay authentic, but continuously review your social media presence. Look at the benchmarks. As your number of followers increases, your demographic change and their behavior changes. So what was once your top peak time of 9 a.m. on a Tuesday might become 4 p.m. on a Thursday. Look at that stuff, because it's easy for it to get away from you. So ongoing review of your social media, both for who you are and where you are.
Right. Great. Well, we thank you so much for being with us today, Missy. It was a pleasure. I learned a lot. Michelle, did you have any other additional comments? Great. Well, we hope that you tune in again with us next month. We're going to keep you a little bit just on the edge of your seat there, and we'll share the topic with you as we move toward that date. But again, thank you, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks so much.